This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Welcome to the 44th episode of the Deployment Dojo. This is a live show where we introduce and discuss software installation topics using the WiX Toolset. I'm your host, Rob Mensching, and joining me once again is my very good friend and student of deployment, David Edson. David, how you doing, my man?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm all right. After all that excitement of the last week of all open source discussions and things like that, it's time for us to come home. We've taken all of the guests out of the dojo, and it's just us. Bert, Martin are here, you and me, people that are doing this for setup. That's why we're here. All right, we're gonna get back to making progress on things that we talked about. And I want to talk about a new thing, things that we've touched on a little bit, but I want to go back and dig into something. Namely, how do you find files to put into your package in the Windows installer? Right? You're like, well, that's pretty easy. It's just been working, right, David? Like, probably haven't even thought about it at all. But the WiX Toolset actually has a lot of powerful features in it that we've not been using because, well, our examples are really simple. But as you get more complicated and more elaborate, you'll find that these features can maybe help you a lot in setting up your your acquisition of files. Plus, it'll, I think might learn some new things that really can simplify your world. All right, are we ready to kind of jump into it? Get into the code? Like, just go.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Command prompt. Nice, clean command prompt. We're going to start outside Visual Studio today because I want to go back to the command line for a little bit. And I don't really have a reason other than I just kind of want to get back to this. So this is episode 44, right?
Right.
And I will bring up code. I think I already opened code. Yeah, I already opened code. Nice and hopefully big enough for people to see. And we will start with our build command. Set this to 44. We jumped 43 because, well, we didn't talk about it. All right, and that's what we start with, right? I'm going to commit this from the command line because I feel like it. Git commit A with a message of, what do we say, start episode 44, and then I grab the title from over here, binding files in WiX v4, right? And actually, I don't usually put the WiX v4 because we already know. Binding files, right?
Right.
Something like that. You'd think I've done this enough times that I've memorized the exact format for the first commit. All right, so what does this do? This will take whatever files are edited in my workspace. I have this little thing telling me there's one, and then I will send the message in of using this message quoted, and then it'll just commit to Git. Oh, Git, how about I give it the verb commit -am. There we go. Please commit these changes that I just made. All right, we're on our way. Woo, it's been a little while. Okay, I'm gonna have to remember the command line how to build this thing because it's been built up over time. Right? Like the whole MS build is taking care of all this for us. And we have like extensions we have to add in and all those other kinds of things, right, David?
Right.
I don't even know. I remember all the pieces that we're gonna have to do. So let me set up the conceit a little bit. Let me explain kind of what we're doing. The powers of Deployment Dojo are going out and they're gonna get a sponsor. We're getting a sponsor. We're gonna get sponsored. The sponsor is not going to be a real surprise. They're going to be our good friends at FireGiant. All right. It's me. It's my company. It's pretty easy for me to just go, hey, yeah, look, this is the thing I'm doing. All right. So the conceit is we need to put a little thing. And what are we going to do? We're going to install a file with the belt test that says, thank you to FireGiant for their support. And then yours and my name saying, hey, we're the people that have been doing this. All right. So David, you need to get a little credit here too. So we're going to make sure we get that in here as well. All right.
All right.
You're like, oh, I'm a little nervous about that. No, it's all good. So I don't really know. It's like, oh, we're developers. Where do we put this stuff? Well, I don't want to put it in with all of our source code because it's not source code. I want to put it over in this place. So I'm just going to create this new folder and I'm going to call it legal. because I don't have a better name for it in the belt test. And we're going to go ahead and put our sponsors.txt in here. All right, there we go. Sponsors.txt. I am totally making all this stuff up, by the way. Anybody that thought this is real. I mean, yes, Fire Giant does fund a lot of this stuff because they pay my salary and all that kind of stuff. My company, we get to do these things. But this is for fun. All right, so we're just going to say from the legal team, thank you to Fire Giant for being awesome. All right, and then post Mensching, and what are we going to call you? Co-host. We're going to call co-host. Actually, we're going to both be co-hosts because that's probably more correct anyway. All right, David Edson. Woo. All right, cool. That's a fancy sponsors.txt, right? Don't ask how much they paid for it. It's all good. Okay?
Right.
Simple enough, easy enough. We're going to go ahead and put this in, and we're basically going to say this is what the documented agreement was between everybody. And we're going to say, all right, so I'm going to commit again. If cached, show me the files that I've already checked in or committed, or sorry, staged. Words, Rob. We staged these things. Now let's go ahead and commit with, I just need a message because I've already staged it by pushing the button and get VS Code. I'm bouncing around showing you all the different ways you can do this with the command line or whatnot. Or VS Code. I could type this message, and I could have typed this message into VS Code if I wanted. So let's go commit sponsors.txt from legal. I'm going to quote legal from legal. There we go. All right. We have a sponsors.txt. That's great. We've got it committed. The dev part is over. Now the setup people take over. Right, David?
Right.
Yep. All right. So let me go ahead and, I got to push this button here. Where is this button? Let's see. I forgot to open this thing here. No, let's see. All right. David reminded me I forgot to give him access so he could actually see the screen. So he's been flying blind. He's been like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds great. So this is what I've committed you to, David, right over here. Literally, I have committed this into the repo. All right, so we're rocking and rolling with our sponsors.txt, and it's in. Now let's talk about the ways to get it into the WiX Toolset, okay?
All right.
So we have a new file. That means we need to install this file, which means what do we need to be able to install a file, David? The all-important...
To install a file?
Yep, to install anything, actually. We have to wrap it up in a component. Sorry, I didn't mean to make that harder than it was. You were like, wait, something magical? No, just, we have to give it a component, right?
Right.
So I'm going to create a fragment here. Is that big enough? I want to make it one more bigger. One more bigger? That's awfully big. Maybe
that's good.
Work. That's plenty big for everybody to see. All right.
Yeah,
I'm going to create a fragment. And I don't know. I'm going to put it in the package for now, just because I don't have a better place to put it. Okay. Now it's a single component. So I could do this, and I could give it an ID of legal stuff. Component. And then I would say file, and the source equals sponsors.txt. Man, I can spell today. Here we go. All right. Over here in our legal folder, sponsors.txt. Cool. I don't really want to put this in a component though, do I? No. We'll do a component just for now. Oof. This fragment underneath all the features. It's like, I really want to put this in a separate file, but I'm trying to do something just a little different to show that you can. But my natural tendencies is just put all these things in separate files, and I'm just trying to show that, yeah, this works too. All right, component. I need to make sure it gets included in my feature. Component ref, ID equals legal stuff. All right, so normally I would rather put this in a component group and all that kind of good stuff. But for now, I'm just kind of like winging it just to show that you can. All right, maybe we'll refactor here at the end or something like that. I just want to kind of get it in. All right, now we have a component, but we're going to need a directory. We have to specify where this component's put its stuff. Where does the legal stuff go? So what directory should we put it in? We look at our folders. We have our install folder. Should we put it in the root with all of our other binaries?
No.
You want to put it in the subdirectory? Another directory?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. All right. What directory should we put it in?
I don't know, unless we're going to make a legal directory.
Okay, sounds good. I'm with you. I'm going to do this way. Have we talked about this? I'm going to throw this out here. You can now just create a one-off directory just by saying subdirectory over here. I think that's the syntax. It's been a while since I've done it.
Yeah, I haven't seen this. Not
Oh,
that
you
I
haven't
remember.
seen this? All right, we're going to go with this. I'm going to leave it just kind of as a cliffhanger here. This should work. We're going to see if it works. This is all purely based off memory. I'm obviously going off the way I would normally do things. We'll refactor it, everything like that. But I like this. This is fun. We're going to live large for a little bit. I feel like we've done a whole bunch of random stuff too much. Let's see if this will work. Okay, so we've built everything once. Now, am I doing this from MS Build? I'm doing this in the command line, right? Whew, okay. Here we go. Let's go into belt test. Let's get things building. I'm doing this from the command line. Here we go. Let's WiX build star.wxs, right?
Yeah.
We'll start there. See what this gives me. WiX build star.wxs. All right, error. You must specify an output file because there's multiple input files. Fine. We're going to put this, just like we did before, into this xxx directory, just to kind of keep it out of the mix. All right. And we're working our way through the error messages. Undefined preprocessor variable. Well, that makes sense because we didn't give it the preprocessor variable. Does this sound kind of familiar?
Yes.
Version 44. We're building from the command. Actually, you know what? We're building from the command. We'll just give it version 00. That's the same thing MS Build would do when not building an official build, right? Remember that?
Right.
It just defaulted to whatever the version was in our project. We'll just do 00. It's a dev build, doesn't matter. All right, next thing, unhandled exception. We need the extension WiX UI. So let's go ahead. I think I've already installed that. If not, we'll get a error about it. WiX extension.
Thought you did.
Yeah, I think I've installed this a while ago. Extension could not be found. Check the paths. WiX UI WiX extension. All right, so let's add WiX extension. Add WiX. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Oh my goodness. WiX Toolset.ui. All right. So the name of the element in our code is WiX UI, and the extension it comes from is WiX Toolset.ui.WiX extension. All right.
Okay.
All right. Just need to remember to get the names, and that's what this. Could not find this WiX extension. All right. All right. Still can't find that extension. That's fine. So let's see if I can do. No. WiX extension. Add WiX Toolset UI.WiX extension. Wait for it. It's going off the NuGet, bringing all those files down that we need, getting them ready for us to be used right here. Well, it's taking a moment. Okay, there we go. Now, go back to our previous command. Please use the extension that I've added from the command line. Could not be found. What did I do wrong? Let's do WiX extension list. Ooh. It did not work, David. Let's do a question mark. Did I get it wrong? All right, let's add G for global and see if it will add it there. And I'll go look and why we didn't get it locally here. Extension add WiX Toolset UI.WiX extension. Okay, it's thinking about it. Let's do our list -G. It's not finding it. This is what I get for just trying right off the bat.
Right.
Oh, well, the version is optional. Like this normally would create a directory right here. What did I do wrong? Add. This should tell me it can't find. Oh, man, we're not getting any errors right now. I have found a bug here. This is strange. WiX Toolset UI-WiX extension. This is WiX Toolset UI.WiX extension. Could not check paths there. Yes. Do I need to give it a version? At 4.0.0 or 4.0.1? No, that didn't fix it. What did I do wrong? I'm not spelling it wrong, am I?
I don't think so. It doesn't look wrong.
This is what I get for trying to do everything from the command line.
I was gonna say you have to do it from Visual Studio.
I'm gonna have to do it from MS Build. Well, I'd have to go all the way to Visual Studio. I could still do it from MS Build in the command line, but I want to just use the commands straight up. And which version am I using? No, it's 401. I was afraid that I accidentally got the dev build, but I had like some preview of WiX 5 on my machine. But that's not what I have either. This is unexpected that it's not bringing WiX extension. I didn't miss anything. Add. Globally. Let's see, remove WiX Toolset.ui. .wix the extension. No? All right. It's thinking about it. See, it's working on that one. It's like, yeah, we're thinking about that one really hard. Okay. Oh, I did add remove. Oh my goodness. And I didn't get there. Okay. All right, we're gonna have to bail on this. Actually, you know what we can do? Let's do this from the command line, and I'm gonna get the build log because I really want to see this log file that we're getting. All right, building. I don't necessarily expect this to build because we said, hey, we're missing a file. Yeah, look, follow files were checked for. It's looking for sponsors.txt, and it did not find a sponsors.txt. That's actually what I want to talk about. But you know what? I'm gonna take a quick detour just for all of you that are like, hey, how do you debug something like this when it's not working? We're gonna bring up the msbuild bin log again, as we have in the past, and I'm going to look for wix.exe, and this should give us the command to the compile of wix.exe, which is just going to be this ginormous list of things. We do not need all of these things to compile. This is just what msbuild gives us when we compile, and I want to take a look at this in a new file in here real quick. Word wrap, please. All right. -ext. Well, it's just giving me the full paths. Okay, that is another way to do it. I know I could do it that way. That's not the one I wanted to use, though. But You know what? For the sake of progress, we're going to use what msbuild did, just to get past this part. And I have to now go write a little message to myself over here. Investigate why WiX4 extension add is not working. You need DLL? No, I don't. I'm pretty sure I don't need DLL. At least I shouldn't. So I know what you're saying, Martin, but I shouldn't need, none of that should be necessary. I should just be able to use the name of the extension and it should find it for me in the caches and where everything's at, but it's not. So here what I'm doing instead is I'm gonna give it the full path to DLL. This will work. This is another way of loading extensions. So you can, this is like really handy if you're just developing locally, and I don't need 2 extensions, I only need 1. All right. After all that, that's a bug in WiX. I have to go hunt that down. We have a WiX 402 coming out. Maybe I'll see if it's in there. All right, great. We made a little bit farther progress. Oh, I do need the NetFX extension as well, because this is, hey, WiX NetFX Framework 402. And as we discussed in the past right there, that comes from our NetFX extension that we're able to use. And I'm going to borrow this one because it's all the same. Well, it's mostly the same. Actually, I'm going to pop it up over here. I saw it here, and I'm just going to grab this path for WiX NetFX extension. This should not be necessary. This is frustrating me that I have to do this. You should not have to do this. Oh, wait. Okay, cool. Error. Identifier. The WiX components class library components could not be found. Ensure that you have typed referencing and all necessary inputs are provided to linker. What are we missing? We're missing our class library components. Remember, those come from a WiX lib. They don't come from this build here. So I have to go into class library. That happens to be built already. And I forget where it is. There it is. Bin debug class library, not WiX, right? So we're gonna go get the content from that. Fortunately, we used msbuild to build that already. So it's already ready for us. And we're not gonna be changing it, so that's good. All right, cool. Now we're at the place where I want it to be with all these error messages here. Is that easier to see if I highlight them? I think it is, because that black on white's not very easy to read. All right. Oh, it's missing a loc file. So actually that's another thing we need to add. Let's add that, and then I will highlight the things. Clear the screen and then do the build. Now just people, like I had some people saying, why do you want to use msbuild and all that? I'm like, because these command lines get really long sometimes. This I think is a vote in the use of msbuild. Let me get it out here. All right, cool. So now it's telling me it cannot find the file console app 1, Windows Form app, Windows Service, and sponsors.txt. Right? And you're like, hey, well, we just added sponsors.txt. Why did these suddenly start failing when they worked in msbuild? And today, after a slight detour around a bug in WiX extensions that I have to go hunt down, we have hit today's lesson, the thing I want to talk about. Bind paths. All right. Bind paths are this feature in the WiX toolset that are essentially like search paths, except they're called bind paths because they take your files and they bind them into your output. They find your files and bring them in. And you can you can specify bind paths to say where to go find the files that you need to be part of your installation package. Okay, so this is all during build.
Right.
And you can have many of them. You can have multiple search paths all on your machine. All right. So we need to find several files here. Let's start with our sponsors.txt because it's easier. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to add a -b for a bind path. I think that's what it is. I'm now questioning myself. And I'm going to say ... legal. I'm saying add this path to the paths to search. I think I've got that right. And when I build with that, look,
It's gone. Yep.
It's gone. Why? Because it searched in that folder, it found sponsors.txt, and it pulled it into our installation. Or at least it resolved it. It hasn't actually built anything because of these other failures. All right, so we still, if we look in the XXX doesn't even exist yet. So we haven't created this output folder that we're trying to create in the first place. So now I need to add more -b folders. And I'm going to, how do I want to do this? Yeah, I'm going to bring up start. Because I don't know where all these things are built. All right, so start. Let's see. We're going to start adding -b for the rest of them. Console1.app is in ... console app1 bin debug. Yep, great. Console app1 bin debug. ... whack. There. Okay. I'm going to do another build, clear screen, go, and we're going to hopefully see console app1 is gone. Yay! Problem solved. Also, you'll see as we start adding these bind paths, new in WiX 4, in WiX 3 it doesn't do this, but in WiX 4, you'll see the following paths were checked. They look for Windows Form app1.exe in the folder we're in, namely inside the belt test package. It then looked in ... legal for Windows Forms app1, didn't find it there. Then it looked in ... console app bin debug Windows Forms app1. So this is really handy when you're like, why didn't it find my file? All my bind paths are correct. And where did it look? Well, now you actually gives you a message in WiX 4 to tell you where it looked. And in this case, it tells us that we need to add another bind path to belt test. Let's see, what is this? Windows service or app? Windows app is what we're doing. Windows Form app1 bin debug. There it is. Oh, I don't need the full path. Although the full path works too. Let's go ahead and give it the full path for that one. And we'll run this one. We should have one more error left. Yay!
Yep.
Windows Service 1. And you can see now the paths are, it looked in the local directory. It always searches the local directory first, and then it goes down this path of bind paths, and then you can see this really big long one to there. So you can do relative paths, all that kind of good stuff. And the relative paths we're building inside WiX.exe or wherever you're at in WiX.exe, and MS Build, they're relative to your project, wherever your WiX proj is, if you're trying to do relative paths. But we'll talk about that again in a minute.
All right.
Windows Service 1, bin debug. Nope. I just need the folder. It's a bind path. It's a bind folder. You just need the folder, not the actual path to the file. Because if I say Windows Service exe.1, watch what it does. Oh, the -b requires a directory, was provided as a path, a file. Hey, that's an even better message than I expected us to give. Isn't that nice? That's a very nice error message, isn't it? It's like, hey, you need to give us a folder, not a file. Boom. Thinking about it, doing the thing. All right, cool. Now, just because we're here, spin up the sandbox. Sandbox, please. It's been a minute. All right, good. It's spinning up here.
Shake the rust off the sandbox there.
I know. Well, I had to. It's been a Tuesday since then, I think. So I've done some Windows updates, and sometimes this takes a second to come back up after all that. Okay. So what are we testing here? Directory.
Where the files are.
rb.msi, and we're going to make sure that our sponsors.txt is where we are pretend contextually obligated to place it, and that we don't have an installation failure. Everything installs correctly. We'll go look at deployment Dojo text. Hey, look, there's a legal folder, and there's sponsors.txt with our text in it. Ta-da! Yay! Right?
Cool.
Right? Yay! Cool.
Yep.
And
Yep.
let's refresh this. I will uninstall real quick just to make sure that sponsors.txt goes away. This is telling me that that folder has been deleted. Okay, Explorer. And deployment Dojo is gone. Ta-da! Cool. We're set. And we've learned now that we have this way of specifying all of our bind paths. Cool, cool, cool. All right. Another option, back if we look at this package here, is that instead of doing that bind path like we did, we could, you know what, I'm going to take this command. Let me just grab this. Create a new file here. I want word wrap, please. All right. Take that off. Let's see, is it all one line? I think it's all one line. That's good. Oh, I was thinking this would be easier to read, but that word wrap is pretty brutal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dash B. Where's the first dash B? There it is. Dash B for legal. I'm going to take legal out of our command line. Okay.
All right.
So the next time, well, if we run this, build, we're going to expect to see sponsors.txt not found. Okay,
Yep.
Great. So what if we put the path in here? Lots of people like to do this. You can do this. All right. The file will now be relative here. So /legal, and we do another build. I have removed -b legal, but I have put that path in my source code itself. When I do a clear screen and build, boom, everything builds correctly. Right?
Right. Okay.
So that search path, right, is we've put part of the path in here. So let's like make a typo in it. Let's call it legal X. And then we'll do a search. Okay, clear screen. And now we'll see that we were searching for this file in all of these paths. Okay, and it did not find it in console app1 legal x1. So if you look at this path right here, this one I highlighted, this would have looked for sponsors.txt in the parent directory of us, console app1 bin legal x sponsors, because this and debug would have taken that out. Okay.
Right.
All right. So you can see how even these relative paths can be searched for across builds or across folders and then all stuck together. So it ends up being really powerful if you're like, look, if all of my files, let's say all my binary files were built into one directory, I'd only need one bind path, right? And laid out exactly as I needed. Maybe I could get things worked out. Now, if I do this though, let's fix the directory, and then I do a build from here. So I'm actually up a directory, and I need to fix some of my dots here. Actually, oh, this is actually harder. I have to fix this. Ooh, this command is actually harder than I thought it was. Let's go up a directory. You're gonna see, all right, belt test package, all the things in there, okay, and then all this directories. Now no longer that's just there, I think, and this is now belt test package. All right, you see all these things I have to change as soon as I change the directory where I was coming from, unless I use full paths everywhere.
Right.
Okay, now I think if I build this from here, I can't find the file fg.ico. All right, so where is fg.ico coming from? Oh, well, it happened to be in the belt test package directory, right?
Right.
And it's used somewhere in our source code, all right? And so you now have to search around for that. So when you are using relative paths that are not specified on a bind path, you need to know that as you move around, you're gonna have to think about them shifting, all right? And of course, legal sponsors also changed. So you take that out, and now I have to add -b belt test package, so I can find the fg.icon, and I already have legal sponsors from where I'm at. When I run this command, it builds again. So I had to shift a lot of things around when I moved where I ran this command from. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does.
There's another advantage that WiX Proj gives you. The WiX Projs, all the paths are relative to your project file. Makes it very easy. Wherever you put your project files, all the files are being resolved in relation to that. So you don't have to worry about like where wix.exe is running. Basically, it's the ms build command we're running. Make sure that wix.exe is always running in the folder where your build test package starts.
Right.
Okay?
All right.
All right. So this is a really friendly way, or a really powerful way of finding lots of files easily on it. And then of course, oh yeah, okay. So that makes sense, right?
Yes.
I'm going to stop here because I didn't want to drill in too far. I wanted to get the basic concept introduced. And what have I done? We better do MS Build. Because we have to make sure everything still works from MS Build, right?
Yeah.
All right.
And you still have legal on the
I
sponsors.txt.
do. That's bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to do /legal.text. Why? Because it's in /legal sponsors.text. Okay. I'm parking us on the downhill because you're like, no, Rob, you said use bind paths. And this is not going to be using a bind path. It's using, well, it knows that we're starting WiX project. So .legal belt test is taken care of for us. Let me do the MS Build real quick while I'm talking. Yep. All right. We're into validation. So I'm going to park us on downhill going, no, wait, but you're not actually using bind paths to find that file, which is true, which is where I want to pick up next time. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Everybody's like, oh, but I want to know more. There's a lot of things that I want to talk about by bind paths. And I don't want to go too far in one day. Okay. So let's look at the changes that we've made today. I don't care about any of these files. Can I delete them from here? I think I can. Discard changes. Yes, this is my XXX directory. They're forever lost. All right. What did we change to package? We added our legal stuff component. We added an install folder with a subdirectory of legal, and we saw that actually installed to that subdirectory on the remote machine for us. That was kind of slick. We'll come back and talk about that another time. And then we didn't use bind paths at all. We actually just did /backl sponsors.text. We went through this entire episode, and we're not actually using the thing that we talked about at all. It's just relative to
not
this
yet,
folder.
right?
Not yet, but because we're going to talk about all the ways that you can integrate this in MS Build and how MS Build is working next time. Right.
All
right. So episode 44. Binding files in WiX. No, binding files for our sponsor. All right. Yent. Copy that. Commit. Publish the branch. Send that up to GitHub. I thought there's now a way of creating a pull request from GitHub from right here. Oh, maybe. Commit, changes, branch. No. Oh, I guess I have to bring up a browser and go there myself. All right, David, questions, things going on that you're thinking about here, even though I kind of pulled the rug out from underneath you at the last minute saying, hey, we did all this work and we're not even using it yet in MS Build. But we did show how we could do it from the command line.
Yeah, not quite. I mean, unless there's some kind of bind path list command that exists, or other than that, you just have to just look at the actual command and see where everything is at. Like if you were trying to organize where all your files were.
Yep, you'll see it in the -B. Like basically, you're like, well, what are all the paths we're providing? -B. Now we're going to talk about MS Build and WiX projects next in the next episode. So that's a little bit different the way you specify it there.
Okay,
that's what we'll talk about next time. But yeah, that's it. And a lot of this comes down to organizing your code. Organizing your build output to help your setup. Martin asks a very good question. Does WiX search for the files in the order of the -B parameter? Yes, it does. It searches them in order, which can be really helpful. Which drills home additionally, the thing I was just saying is building your output in a way, building your output so it's easy for setup can help a lot. Does that make sense? So it's like where people build their stuff, developers, they don't generally care as long as they can hit F5 and debug and all that kind of experience. But as a setup developer, we care deeply because we have to grab those files and include them. So how they get laid out is a place where the setup team hopefully can go in and say, hey, it would help us if you laid things out like this so that we can then include your content easier into the product. Now we're going to talk about some of the things that WiX is doing for you in MS Build probably next time as we talk about all these bits and pieces there. But that's the next episode when we get into MS Buildisms.
Cool.
Anything else? Okay, so I have a question for chat. Now that we got to the end, I've got all of David's questions answered. One of the things that I've been wondering is that we've been floating around like between half-hour to hour shows, and my original intent was to keep them shorter towards a half hour, and then sometimes I get lazy and I just keep going because it's so much fun talking with you guys and covering all this stuff. And I've been letting them go for an hour. So I'm curious in chat if you guys have any things, and in the comments too, is it easier if is a half hour better? Like just kind of like, let's sit down, talk about one topic and break them up a little bit smaller so we can kind of march through them? Or is it better to have an hour, which gets a little bit more sweeping, and then we cover a lot more stuff inside one episode? I'm thinking about trying to bring them more closer to a half hour. Also, it fits on David and my lunch break a little bit cleaner if I keep them closer half hour. So there's that. Is there any warning if files the same name exist? So while you guys think about that, leave comments saying, yeah, half hour is better, an hour is better, or, I don't care. I just like showing up. If it was a 5-minute show and we covered something interesting, 5 minutes would be fine. And I'll take any of that feedback. I'm curious what you guys think out there. To answer Martin's question, is there warning if files the same name exist in multiple folders? There's not a warning today about that. I guess there could be. So if you found a file in the bind paths and then you found that it was found later, should that be a warning? The WiX Toolset stops when it finds the file. It doesn't keep searching for a file. It's like, hey, I found it. It's kind of that joke, David, usually you stop looking. It's like, why do you always find the stuff that you're looking for at the last place you looked? And my response to that was that, well, I hope it's the last place that you looked, because otherwise you're still looking for it after you're done. And the WiX Toolset, as soon as it finds a file, it stops looking. But it's interesting to say, hey, yeah, keep looking in case you find collisions, or not collisions, other files with the same name. It's an interesting idea. I could see why you might want that, in case the file's in multiple places. You would like to know that, hey, by the way, we only picked this first one, not the other ones. It's an interesting idea. All right, give everybody a little bit longer chance to say, hey, which way they vote. Nobody's giving me many. I got Martin's vote. He's actually voting for an hour. I think Martin likes hanging out too, which I totally understand. It's good. Bert's like, whatever. He's just here for the free cookies because it's the dark side. I don't know what they say. x86. Well, we're going to talk about x86 and x64, so that'll be we'll have that topic covered. Okay. I'll think about it. I want to keep thinking about the timelines. That's what I wanted to cover today, the introduction to bind paths. We will dig into them more inside MS Build, and then we will dig into them again farther down the line about other things I see people doing and why I think bind paths are the best option. So welcome to your introduction to bind paths, finding files, and our introduction to our legal team at the Dojo here. David, they weren't too bad, were they?
No, not too bad.
All right. That's where we're at this week. We'll be back next week. We'll cover more of these topics. Until then, you guys keep coding. You know I am. Bye.
That's it.